Hi guys, well today I wanted to talk about projectors. Now you might ask yourself, why would you want to buy a projector if TVs have got so much bigger for quite a reasonable price? You can get a 44-inch TV for probably about $500 now. That's not bad, and you can get them even bigger. You can get an LCD now for up to about 50 inches, but the problem is that 50 inches just isn't big enough. It's a lot bigger than they used to be, maybe twice the size of your average TV, but they just don't give you the home cinema experience really. You're still, even though they're twice the size, you're still looking at a smallish screen. The test would be, are you watching the movie or are you experiencing the movie? Is it in your face? An analogy would be, you can meet and talk to someone that's 2 feet tall. You know what they're saying, you can see their expressions, you can have a conversation with them, but it's not the same type of feeling at all as having a conversation with someone that is 6 foot tall. You can see them close up, you experience the person. You know the difference between watching something on your TV and watching it in the cinema. Sometimes you see a really good film on the TV and you think, I wish I'd seen that in the cinema. So do you need to keep forking out that fortune every time you want to go and see something in the cinema? It's about $15 or £9 just to get into the cinema. Then you pay your money for your food, at least another $10 normally. And that's just per person. You watch it at home, you buy one DVD and watch it on one screen. You pay for the DVD, that can do 8 people at home, 9 people at home. But you're still got that limitation of the smaller screen. So what do? Well, some people decided in the past, I'm just going to go ahead and get myself a home cinema system, but they cost a lot of money to get a projector. Even 5 years ago, I bought one and it was a lot of money. And the problem is they've got a limited life as well. It's between about 2,000 and some of them got to 5,000 hours, but the norm is about 2,000 hours, and that's mean. The average can kind of go at 1,500, and depends how you look after them as well, and depends how you're running them. But that's the problem with them. And the lamps, they're kind of high pressure mercury bulbs in the lamps, and those are hell and expensive to replace. If someone says to you, I'll sell you a second-hand projector, what you're basically saying is, I'm buying the bulb. Because if you break that bulb, the projector would have only ever gone for £40 or £50, which is about $80, because the bulb is so expensive. So you need to get that replacement. So everything changed about a year and a half ago, because they realised that they could make LED bulbs and lamps that were very, very bright, because these projectors need to be really, really bright. The main reason for that is that you lose a lot of the brightness of the bulb through the projector process itself. So even though you've got maybe 2,000 lumens inside there, you're probably only going to get about 1,000 lumens coming out, just because of the way it handles the light on the inside. But these little LEDs came out, they're called SMDs, and they look different. It's not your standard little bulbous type LED. These are the ones that look like little yellow chips, and you put them in an array and you can get fairly decent brightness from them, but you've still got to pay quite decent money. The great advantage of these is that the bulbs will probably last, and the lamps will probably last your lifetime. Normally about 40,000 to 50,000 hours, so replacing them is never going to be a problem. Now, price-wise, these new LED ones, there's a significant saving of about probably about 20 or 30% if you buy them from China and get them imported and take the risk. There's quite a big difference in price between branded ones and non-branded ones, because all the big guys, Sony and these guys, have all get involved in the market. But on average, for a really good one, what you call native high definition, you're probably looking at about $500, and that's still a lot of money, and that's outside most people's reach. And the question would be, well, can I really fit it in my home? the fact is that most people have an available wall. The wall doesn't really necessarily have to be white, because there's a lot of adjustment within these projectors, so that you can say to it, actually you're projecting onto a beige wall or a light blue wall, and it'll adjust all the colours accordingly. That saves that problem. It's also not that hard to make a sheet. You don't need to buy a big expensive screen to project it on. Actually, you can just paint a white sheet, iron it, and then fit it onto a frame or just pin it to the wall, maybe in a spare room, and you then have a home cinema. And it only needs to be about, say, it can be much larger than your TV in area, but it only needs to be about twice as big for you to have what I call an authentic home cinema feel to it, that really transforms the viewing. I mean, I had to get one recently because I had already experienced it, and the difference is just enormous. You know, a film really comes to life. But basically there were two types of old projectors, just as there are two types of new projectors in terms of quality, and that quality difference is in resolution. You've got to be careful about that when you're trying to work it out, because some people they basically lie to you on some of the Chinese sites as well, and certainly on eBay. What they'll say is high definition resolution, and what that means is that, okay, they can handle a high definition film, and they can maybe interpolate the information to blow it up to that 1920 by 1080p, but the native resolution, the actual resolution of the handled image inside the LCD screen, for example, because these LED ones often use LCD screens as well, is not high definition. And if that's not high definition, if it's like 800 by 600 or something, or even less, then you're sure as hell going to see that when you blow it up onto a big screen. It's going to look slightly blocky, it's just not going to look as good. So it's important to establish what the native resolution is of the image that you're getting in order to really get a good image. Now that's where the problem lies, because okay, you can get hold of one of the new projectors that are the LED type for maybe £50 or £60 from China, but often they are not high definition. Not really. They're 800 by 600 maybe, and they may not have an adequate brightness. Brightness becomes relevant because, okay, most of them you can kind of watch, in a darkened room, or maybe a completely dark room. But that's not really practical for a lot of people. You know, you've got kids running around, so you've got to have some kind of background light on. Someone's reading in the room, someone's going in and out, or maybe you're just watching it at 12 o'clock and you haven't pulled all the curtains, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and you haven't pulled all the curtains. And even if you do close all the curtains, if the quality of the bulb and the output in lumens isn't high enough, what often you find as well is that the contrast ratio isn't high enough as well, and the blacks don't really look that black. So you've got this image that may look kind of okay, but you know, darker areas, dark greens and the like, start to become milky, and you notice that and it kind of sticks on you. There's a big difference when you start seeing a projector where it's really high brightness and it's got high contrast as well. It makes a big difference. So on the flip side then, if you are looking at an LED projector that has high resolution and a decent lumens, you're actually talking quite a lot of money. It's probably going to be up at the $500 range now again for a high quality one. So is there a solution? Because what you definitely want is a high definition projector, i.e. that's 1080p, that has a high lumens output and that's going to have a decent contrast ratio, but that doesn't break the bank. Because a lot of people can't pay that £300 or $500. You know, is it available to the man in the street? You've already bought a TV, and the answer is yes. And it's due to something that I like to call weight. It's the weight, the sheer weight on the marketplace of the incoming technologies. They're being pushed in at such a high rate, and they're now being manufactured at such a fast rate, these LED projectors, that the old market that existed quite well for second-hand but perfectly good working filament bulb or mercury bulb projectors, that's being crushed under the weight of these incoming projectors, and they're lowering prices. And what that means is that these old style projectors, second-hand ones that work great, that used to go for 100 to 200 pounds second-hand, have now come down to very little indeed. Another reason for that is that a lot of places, institutions, businesses, schools, universities and the like, because of their commitment to green energy and because LED bulbs are quite a bit greener, they've become almost obligated to get rid of all their old technology and replace it with LED bulb ones. So it's not that they've gone, oh, this isn't working anymore, they're working fine. They may have only run for 100 hours. Can you imagine they buy that for a university or a business and no one's using it, maybe for business meetings or the like. So it's maybe only run 100 or 200 hours, and you can find that information out. It's always on the menu, it's logged, the number of hours, and any bulb changes are always logged. So that means that these have come down very suddenly in the last year, year and a half. They've come down from probably about 150, 100 pounds for a good one, down to maybe 30 or 40 pounds, and that's falling all the time. I bought these in bulk. I'll talk about in a minute about that process of buying them in bulk and how that's an opportunity. But I bought 10, and he said, I haven't really tested them all, and he meant that. He hadn't really had time to test them, but he said they all have bulbs. And what happened was, in the end, 3 of them weren't really working. The bulbs just didn't work. The bulbs didn't light up, but the others all work great. So they come in a variety of standards, I would say. Most of them do not have a HDMI input, but that's okay. You can easily feed them from a computer, maybe running Wi-Fi that maybe runs Netflix or something on the computer, and that takes VGA. That doesn't mean the quality is that much less. You know, if you switch one of the others from VGA to HDMI, the difference isn't that great. And VGA is great. I mean, if you run VGA, it's a VGA input there, but it's what you call XGA or WXGA in the quality, and they all work great. So basically, I would say there are 2 types of LCD projector. When I say LCD, I'm talking about the technology they use to actually put the image inside that, and then different types of light come through. Even if you've got an LED bulb one, I'll often still use an LCD screen to project it through, and those are pretty good. There are 2 basic different types of LCD screen, those that just fire it through and those that split it up into red, green and blue, and then have an LCD screen for each of those colours and then group them together at the end, and it produces a higher quality image, but it's very difficult for them to get that right, and they're more expensive, and one of them is like that. And there's another type, and I've seen tests done for television, these are on YouTube, where they got a lot of professionals, movie professionals and technology professionals in a room, and they put them into cars, and then they projected the same movie at the same time on 2 different screens, and one of them was LCD and the other one was this type here, which is called digital micro mirror technology. This one says DLP, which is I think it's digital light processing, but that's actually a trademark of Texas Instruments. But a lot of people say DLP as if it's generic when they're talking about this type of technology, and that's not an LCD screen at all. What it is it's like a chip with a bunch of different mirrors on it, and thousands of little tiny mirrors, and they're like pixels, and there's a rotating disc that's got different colors on the wheel, like green and then blue, and what this device has to do then is match the timing of the firing of the light through the mirror with the spinning of that wheel, and it's very difficult to do, and it produced a very expensive unit. Don't get me wrong, these things cost a fortune when they were new. If you look up Projector Central, for example, you can see the prices of any of these, and they were, you know, suggested retailing price of that would have been about $5,000. This one $4,000. This one here about $6,000 or $7,000. So when I take out from what I paid, when I take out the 3 that weren't working for £70, for £100, I get 7 working good projectors. And what if the bulb goes in one of them? So what? Probably just bin it. You know, it's probably about £50 for another projector. What I did notice, and this is in accordance or in agreement with that video I mentioned where they did the rating, is that the picture quality in this is significantly better. It's just because the darks are darker, and there's another parameter to watch out for, which is the quality of the image when it's moving. So if you watch an action movie, or even we watched a nature movie on it with some whales moving fast through the water, and the way in which it holds the quality of that image without blurring is quite distinctive. And it's almost like art, you know, it's pleasurable to watch. You find yourself really soaking up the atmosphere even more, and you're startled by just how real it looks. And I would say that projecting this onto a big screen, it actually looks like the same quality you get from, in terms of quality, from a 40-inch good quality LCD screen. It's not like looking at a milky image or anything like that, it's just fantastic really. This one has standard VGA outputs as well. They've all got speakers. None of these came with a remote control, although you can buy them on the internet. Maybe a branded one, maybe a generic one that's been reprogrammed for about £10 or $15. But to be honest, you don't need them. They've got all the controls you need here. Almost everything is done right there. Maybe you'd miss out on some lamp or settings control, but everything that you'd really need is basically there. I got this giant one here as well. This is absolutely huge. Look at it. It's got a removable lens there. The lens is motorized so that you can control the actual zooming of the image and the focusing all using this motorized system here. The rest of them are all, see, a twiddle wheel for size and for focus, but this one does it all digitally. It's got a really big lamp inside, and the reason why it's so big is because the lumens output is so huge. You could use that in a university, no problem. Project onto a massive screen with all the lights on and everyone can see everything fine. The quality of it is excellent, but the output certainly is still not as good as that DLP one, so I would recommend that. This one here was probably one of the best. It's a Sanyo. I'd always go for a brand. So I got that for £10, which is extraordinary, and the quality of that is really amazing. In fact, it's so cheap to buy these that you could almost just use them casually as your daytime or evening time TV, no problem at all. So what I'm going to do next is head in with these before they all get too cold, and I'm going to show you on the screen what you can get from China in terms of projectors. But what I would certainly recommend anyone to do is to just try one of these out. You know, it'll cost you about £30 or $50 max. Maybe you get one for £20. I got them for 10 because I bought them in bulk. I'll explain how I did that. There are guys that, if you imagine a university or a big business, they just do not have time to dedicate someone to sit there doing eBay for them. They just don't. They say maybe we're going to change out all our projectors and we're going to get LED ones in, so they just have to get rid of the old ones. They're not really that caring about how much it costs. They can write that off against tax. The cost of the old ones is called depreciation, amortization, just getting rid of it. And there are companies, they're called WE companies, I think it's Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment, and these guys handle it. But the irony is that they don't have time either to test these thousands of items they get every year. So what they do is they have a quick look and they put them on eBay. They can't put it on eBay as used. It's certainly not new. Now, a normal seller might put it on as used because they've got time to test it. But if you haven't got time to test it, you certainly don't have time for some Nyarky buyer to come back and attack you and say, hey, my item wasn't working perfectly, give me my money back. They haven't got time for any of that. So what they do is they take the third option, the only one available to them, and they list it as 4 parts are not working. And what that means is that it looks as if it's broken, but it's not. They say in the description, they'll say, I turned it on and it appears to come on, but I can't test it any further. And you get it. Of course, what you have to think about is where it came from. You know, if the university was throwing it out, they probably would have put it in the bin if it had been broken, or they would have got rid of it before then. The bulb might have blown up on them. But you know why they're getting rid of it. They're getting rid of it to upgrade. Therefore, the chances of you buying from this lot for very little are quite good of getting something that's working really well. And it turned out to me that 7 of them are working, so that's about, I guess, £12 each, including postage, for a working projector. and I'm going to sell a couple on, and I'll give the others to my friends, and they'll all have great working projectors, and it's fantastic for £12. So let's go and have a look on the internet and see what we can get the competition for. The best bet is always going to be importing from China if you can find a reputable site, and I like to use Banggood, so let's have a look at that. That's the instructions for the Oculus. Okay, so there you can see it as a size comparison. This isn't my best projector at all. In fact, this one projects the smallest image, I would say. If you want it bigger, of course, you can put it further away, but the others all project bigger than this. But compared to me, there's my hand for size, and that was perfectly adequate. It's actually pushing it out at, that one's high def. In fact, I think they were all high def. So they can all natively output 1080p, and that's like really looking at a high definition screen pretty much. Some of them slightly better than others. This wasn't a very good image to begin with because I wanted to keep it dark. It's the PS5 video on my channel, but just for size comparison you want to avoid looking into these, but you can see how it looks. And this was £12. You can pick one of these up on its own for probably about £20 delivered, probably about that if your timing's good, maybe 25. But that's not a lot of money for a big screen. That's twice as big as, if we went a little further back, that'd be twice as big as any TV you're going to buy for $500, $600 online. So that's what you're going to get. I'll see if I can find a movie. So here's a guy, just for sake of example, here's a guy playing Far Cry 3. Now you could easily plug this into an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, 3, 2 or 1. I think they all output in VGA. If not, you can buy an adapter converter. Otherwise, you can always look for a projector that outputs HDMI. They all output HD, but HDMI, I think I have two, especially the bigger one that outputs. It's got a little VGA and a HDMI output. Otherwise, you can buy an adapter. You cannot take a television that has a HDMI output, buy a connector cable. There is a cable that exists that's HDMI and VGA. You plug that in from your HDMI output and plug it into VGA, it won't work, almost will never work, because it's kind of going, well, wants an analog signal or it's waiting for an analog signal on the projector, and the output from the TV or whatever is HDMI. So you always want a VGA output, and I think you get that on almost everything. An adapter is probably about £15. So given the price, try and maybe get a projector if you can, if you really need it, that takes a direct HDMI input. So that's how it looks. Fantastic for playing games on, goes without saying. Really, really, really good. You're much more immersed in the action. It's fantastic. There's my hand for comparison. So let's look at some of these imported projectors that we can find on the internet. These are all LED. This one is $82, which is about £50, and this is actually pretty good value. It's not bad at all. It's 800 by 480 resolution, but it'll output 1080p. It's got tons of ports, many more than you normally get in one of the old projectors secondhand. It's got HD. You can also just easily plug in an SD card or a USB pen with the data on it, and it'll watch the movie from that, or even your phone or your Xbox really easily. Output to speakers or the native speaker. It's got pretty good contrast of 1000:1, and it's got really quite good brightness, which is about 1000 lumens, which is good. It's not amazing, but it's good enough. This one here is really cheap. It's $42, about half that price of the other one, which is about £30. Now that's quite low resolution, but it's really straightforward, really simple little LED projector. It's got a remote control, and you can carry it in your hand. And for kids, and really maybe basic gaming for a small bedroom, that's pretty good. It's cheaper than most TVs. It's got quite low contrast. Output resolution's really quite low. 320 by 180 is really low. The lamp's LED, but the brightness is 48 lux, so it's okay, but it's cheap. If you've got an extra bit of cash, you might as well spend an extra 30 quid and get the other one. 20, 30 quid, get the other one. But it's got, plenty of input ports, AV, HDMI.
even got USB, so you could plug your phone into it probably and just get it playing from that. So, as a really basic, mini, small, ultra portable projector, go around, see your friend, and watch it on the wall. It's not bad. This is a much, much, much higher end one. It's actually not that expensive for what it is, and it does output 3D, meaning, you just use the red and blue glasses. $244 is about £150. Free shipping. It's really excellent for what you get. 1024 by 768, so it's pretty much high definition by definition. And I think this is 3000 lumens, yeah, which is really bright. It means you could watch it in a room even with the curtains open. And the reviews for this are pretty seriously good. The links are all below in the description, so just go and click there to find out more information. This one's got a good contrast ratio, as you can see, and tons of lamp life, 20,000 hours, which is about 10 times more than one of those old projectors that used to cost about $4,000, $5,000. So I put the links in the description for all of these, and the shipping takes about 2 or 3 weeks from China. But for the money, that's really good. It'll last you a long time, and the quality is really excellent. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been useful, and please remember to like the video, give a comment to let me know what you think and what you think of projectors in general. Thumbs up if you like, and remember to subscribe for more great videos coming 5 times a week. Thanks very much. Bye bye.